Welcome to episode number 67, Breaking Business Barriers. This is one of your hosts, and we'll talk about the next host here in a second. This is Brent Duhame. Hope you're all doing well out there. Got a kind of a cool little announcement. I've got a co-host that will be joining me going forward. He's been a friend of the show in the past over the last year or so. But hey, why don't we just go ahead and get it out of the bag, Jared, or JT, as I like to typically call you. But Jared Ty will be co-host of Breaking Business Barriers. And before we get into that, let's just make sure we thank our friends over at Open Media Source. We really appreciate them helping us on the platform and doing all those magical things they can do behind the scenes. But Jared, man, welcome. I've been thinking about this for a while. As you know, I mentioned it to you probably, I don't know, a number of months ago, probably, or weeks for sure, but about joining the show. And I think a kind of a nice 1-2 punch here on the type of stuff that we do professionally. But hey, you want to remind everyone a little bit about JT, Jared Ty, and first of all, also where we can find you on social media.
Brent, thanks so much for having me on, man. I'm really excited to participate in this, frequently here going forward. So I'm pumped. I'm really easy to find on social media. Kind of a unique name. So Jared, Jared, last name Ty, Tye. My business page is Buy with Ty, and I'd love to connect with you guys.
Yeah, right on and rock on. Jared not only brings real estate knowledge, but he has really embraced the use of social media at a really high professional level outside of probably a comfort zone in a lot of things. But let's dial it in here a little bit, and we'll unpack a little bit about what you're doing in your business. And while it's just you and I today, let's talk real estate. Let's talk about finance. But JT, COVID-19, we didn't plan for this 3 months ago, did we?
We sure didn't, man. We were worried about other things. I always like to joke. What a surprise, right?
So how'd you pivot, or did you pivot, or did you just leverage what you were doing as a professional real estate agent? Did you have to make a pivot, or did you just embrace what it was that you've been doing and that you've been polishing over the last year or two?
The first 2 weeks of shelter at home, my business completely halted. My clients, even me, it's kind of like you have just that kind of shock factor of, what in the world is happening and how do we, react? So I would say it was, at a standstill for about 2 weeks. However, there was a specific day. I mean, it was like the 15th day of the, shelter at home period, to where it was like someone just flipped a switch. And I felt like all of my clients realized that, hey, if I can go out and, buy groceries carefully in an environment that has had thousands of people, with no record of who's been through, and, then I can certainly carefully buy a home that has had, maybe at most several dozen people in it. And all of those people, there's a record for who's been there. So it was like people just realized that, hey, we still need a place to live, or we still need to move, if someone's getting a job transfer or something like that. So by the grace of God, starting on like that 15th day of the shelter at home, period, if you will, my business got, honestly, I would say just as busy, if not busier, than I've ever been. So I'll be honest, I was surprised by that.
Was part of that mindset? Did you have to shift the mindset? I mean, because we were flooded with a lot of scary news, frankly. And was there a mindset shift, not only just in the client, in potential clients and prospects, but how about your own, along with your family?
Yes. It was hard for me to honestly, just to get back into that mode of, hey, I need to work full time, and I need to stay focused, and I need to stay productive, despite what's going on. So I would say, maybe sometime within that second week, I figured out that, hey, I need to, start calling my database. I just was making care calls, just asking people how they're doing, not even bringing up business. So, but, it worked. Just going back to work despite the uncertainty and despite the unique times, just staying as focused and as busy or as intentional, I guess I should say, as I normally am, um, making that shift, of going from kind of being, nervous and afraid to, hey, I'm just going to work as hard as I normally do and see what happens. That was kind of interesting, but by the grace of God, I'm in a great market here, and the business came back quickly.
Well, and you said something in there, JT, about care calls. I think everyone probably is looking for some positives, especially in those initial shock days, the first couple, 2, 3 weeks. But even now, a little stir crazy. We've seen the news out there, and the two of us have talked about it. Being at home far more often than ever. Not that we don't like being home, but just the shackles that I guess are placed upon us for a reason, right? For health reasons. But those care calls, are the people, did your clients, prospects, did they appreciate that?
I felt like they did, especially, I mean, I feel like that first week of shutdown, if you will, everyone was not used to the lack of social interaction that just came along with it, and just to hear a voice and talk to somebody who's asking how you're doing and genuinely cares about you and your family. It was I think it was enjoyable for both sides.
Well, you've been on social media for an awfully long time, and when you first started promoting your business on social media, was that something that was comfortable to you, or did you just jump in and just go
It
for it?
was not. It wasn't comfortable. I think that's a great question. It wasn't 100% comfortable. It wasn't 100% organic. In the sense that you're familiar with my background. I started working as a loan officer for a major bank, and had a great run in that position, in that environment. After doing that for 12 years, I moved to a different type of role where I was still a loan officer, but I was 100% self-sourced, 100% responsible for finding my own business. So there was a day when I was in that new role where I just kind of had an epiphany, and I reminded myself very intentionally that I didn't have a marketing department. I didn't have a guaranteed lead source. I didn't have a concierge. I didn't have all these services that these, big companies and have. So I always tell people that I read a book about Benjamin Franklin, and Benjamin Franklin understood so well the importance of marketing that he bought the local printing press in his village to promote all of his endeavors. He was a scientist, politician, inventor. He was all over the map, but he bought a printing press to essentially promote his endeavors. So going back to this day that I had an epiphany, I thought, hey, we all have a supercomputer in our pockets that allows us to connect with virtually anyone we've ever met. You can look up your next door neighbor from when you were a child, and you can add them on Facebook, and you can in a indirect way, inform them, just by being active on social media, they can be aware of what business you're in. So on that day, I realized that, man, if I am not utilizing this form of marketing, then I deserve to fail because it's just such an obvious thing or obvious opportunity to me. So to go back to your question, it was not just a natural, organic process. It was I forced myself. I went in. We had a room in our house that my wife used it as a newborn photography studio. Went in that room, has a cool backdrop, and I did a live video as a loan officer. And I'll never forget, I was terrified. I mean, my hands were shaking, and just that thought of, oh my gosh, everybody's going to see me and I can't see them, and it made me super nervous. But after forcing myself to do actions like that, a few times, before long, it was just second nature, to where it's no longer something that scares me.
Yes, jump in. There's a gentleman I know real well that did this a number of years ago and said the same thing. He's just like, hey, you just got to do it. And it's so
Right.
cool, right? I mean, it's cool. And you do a lot of really awesome things in and around your community, promoting small business and doing so with a gracious heart, along with your wife and family for that matter. So that's really cool. And so glad that you are now co-hosting Breaking Business Barriers. Here we are at episode number 67, and hopefully, as God willing, we keep it going. Hey, I'll talk a little bit about on the mortgage banking side. Lots of things going on since all this disruption, I guess we'll call it. And first and foremost, I think both JT and I want to thank everyone out there that's working on the front lines, whether that's in a grocery store or first responders, you name it. The guys out there doing construction, that haven't stopped, and
Absolutely.
they come to work every day, and I worry about them. I thank them every time I'm in the store, and or wherever it may be. But on the mortgage banking side, I'll start out with, here we are again, back in 07, 08, 09, when the housing crisis really disrupted and helped start that massive recession. We're not there on the housing side. This is a health issue that's caused massive issues in the economy, starting with unemployment. My hopes and prayers that all of those folks can get back in the swing of things, just as JT would wish as well. But here we are on the mortgage banking side, as Jared alluded to. Home buying is going on, and home selling is going on. The number of homes in the United States for sale, the inventory is tight. It just frankly is tight. Demand was really, really strong through the winter months, something that we have never seen. I know I've done this since 1991, and I've never seen a winter really coast to coast, north to south, be as strong as it was through the holidays and what have you. That's typically the time when people get their breath and then they start thinking about spring buying season. But we saw it strong.
Right.
And all of a sudden it came to a screeching halt. However, rates are incredibly low, lowest I've ever seen in my entire career, which is good for those people that may need to refinance, or those people that are buying. I think you'll find rates exceptional across the industry, the entire mortgage banking industry. And so there's opportunity. There's also some things out there legislation has allowed, and there's some forbearance things, but for those listening, be well informed before you happen to choose that path.
Right.
Yesterday, there was an announcement that really, really helped those that are needing forbearance, and there are millions that are going to need that help, just as we've seen unemployment approach somewhere around 20%. And amazing, can't believe the number being there. But But the good news is if you're looking to refinance or buy, I'll keep it really simple. Rates are awesome, and there's opportunity. So if you have questions, certainly you can reach out to me. Be glad to answer anything for you, and or reach out to your the person that handled your previous transaction. Reach out to them, and they'll be glad to take a call and maybe walk you through a few things. But JT, I'm excited to have you on the team, man.
I appreciate. Hey, can I ask you a question about something you just mentioned about rates?
Yeah. Mhm.
So I have people ask me, if they should refinance. Do you have any rules of thumb that you use as far as what kind of a rate they have, what kind of a loan balance they have, things like that, to where it might be worth looking into a refinance given the current state of rates?
Yeah, I don't have I don't have a blanket statement on that. I think it's a conversation. It's like it's like shopping for a house. You just can't take a picture of a house and say, "Oh, that looks awesome," without
Right.
seeing the inside of it. And I
Mhm.
know you're doing. By the way, you're doing a lot of virtual showings. I'm sure, tons
Yes,
of
sir.
those. Yep. But I would say that if someone's considering refinancing, they definitely want to talk to their mortgage banker. If someone's interested, they can reach out to me. Be glad to help. In that case, I have to be a really good listener, find out what their goals and objectives are,
Hmm.
why they're considering refinance. It's more than rate, typically. Believe it or not, it's more than just rate.
Right.
And whatever their plan happens to be, maybe they're looking at retirement in a short period of time, or maybe they've had a 30-year mortgage and they paid into it 10. They might be able to wind that thing down to 15 years or less on a really, really exceptional rate, and without much of a payment impact, maybe even going down depending what they've done on that previous 10 years. So I don't want to have a long drawn out answer. Rate is
Right.
certainly one rule of thumb, but there's some financial consulting that really needs to take place along to see if it's meeting their goals.
That's awesome. So people can obviously reach out to you with questions about that.
Yeah, yeah, and reach out to their previous mortgage banker. But yeah, glad to help. That's what we're here for. That's what I do. I've been doing it since
Awesome.
91. I can't believe it.
Awesome.
Every time I say I've been a lender since 1991, I kind of got to stop and think. My golly, that was a long time ago.
Bet you've seen a lot of changes in just technology and things like that. Last night I was talking about how my first outside sales job, I didn't have GPS back in, I guess it was '05. I guess it exists, but I didn't have a Garmin. So I used a Mapsco to drive around and find locations for my sales calls. So I bet you've seen a lot of changes on the mortgage side.
Yeah, more recently, I remember printing out those loan documents, and when I first started, there were, for a typical home, there might have been 15 pages, maybe, in a couple areas to sign. And then it
Hmm.
went to hundreds of pages
Wow.
with lots of signatures. Today, we do e-closings. Not every company has the opportunity to do that,
Hmm.
but we do e-closings. And you mentioned the importance of these. They could do
Right.
everything. They can do everything. They have a personal link on their application that goes to them. They can see all the communication back and forth. And in some cases of refinance, they don't even need an appraisal. They'll get an
That's
appraisal
awesome.
waiver. Yeah, and that's nice. It keeps people out of the home, but it's convenient, and technology
Right.
has come a long way. We do the e-closings where we have a notary. We utilize WebEx, and so you as an agent can be there. The title agent can be there, maybe a lawyer, depending on the state, and the clients, and maybe even the sellers in some situations, I guess. But yeah, you do a WebEx closing. Everyone's on WebEx cameras, just like what you and I are doing here on Zoom. But um, that does help in times like this, certainly. But it's awfully nice and convenient for all parties, not just the borrower.
That's awesome. The electronic closing is huge because I feel like not many lenders are doing that yet.
There is a tremendous investment into that technology, and it only gets better. You know, that it's all about the client, the service, and it helps as a lender. You're my partner as a real estate agent. You know, it helps everyone, keeps you informed just as long as along with the client. But it's cool stuff, man. Yeah, technology, and it keeps coming. It just keeps coming faster and faster.
Right.
Hopefully, it's all built. Well, not hopefully, it's built to enhance that experience, whether it's a
Right.
refinance or.
That's awesome.
All right, brother. Well, hey, welcome to the team officially. It's pretty neat. We've got some guests that we have lined up. I know we talked to one today, and that we'll get out there and recorded. And he's a cool dude and has some exceptional talents. With that, on behalf of both Jared and Brent, everyone go out there, have a great day. Breaking Business Barriers is onward and upward.
Cheers, guys. Awesome. Thank you, Brent.